Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with this week's episode of Market Monday. I know I missed last week for Market Monday, so I thought I'd get this one out as we have an awesome topic to be talking about, which is the Comander 2016. If you haven't checked out the spoilers yet, oh boy. First of all, I'm going to talk about just how much value is packed into this set, and then I'm going to discuss if this is a good thing or a bad thing or kind of in between. I guess we've been calling for it for quite a while now. We've been putting pressure on Wizards to actually include reprints, and they did not hesitate to go all out on this set, especially in like the $3 to $5 range for reprints, and we'll talk about some of those in a second here. So what does that mean? I think that that is probably an okay thing for casual cards. I mean, casual cards were the kind of the genre that I like to invest in, but now I'm a little bit hesitant from here on out. This happens once a year, so if this is going to be something that occurs yearly, so Commander 17, Commander 18 follow suit and have this amount of reprints, then maybe I'm going to kind of step back on my investments. Now, some of my investments got hit from this set, cards like Chasm Skulker that I've been picking up, and I was just looking through a lot of the sets, and they seem to have almost every set. They picked 1, 2, 3 staple commander cards, even as recent sets as Tarkir and even Fate Reforged. Like cards like Hardened Scales got a reprint, which I was starting to invest a lot of, or not really invest, but pick up these sort of cards for the future, for the 2-3 years down the road, and now I'm never going to be able to make any sort of return back on those investments, because these are going to be opened up like crazy just because of how much value is in them. So I'm a little bit hesitant in the future. now even my shining star of casual cards is not such a great Modern has been, I've been very leery of or weary of investing into Modern, just because of how the format hasn't seen as amount of growth as it has in the past. I think that we've had a lot less, and I explained that in other videos, a lot of Market Monday videos, how just the turnout for Modern is just down from where it was, and if we're not going to get any of the PTQ season be Modern, if it's all going to be standard from here on out, then we are definitely in trouble for Modern. So I switched gears over to Casual, but Casual is kind of it's had nice steady growth, but it's one of those things that just creeps up on you. And again, if this is gonna be the trend of just reprint for casual cards, we might have to find another outlet for smart investments. So for this Market Monday, I'm going to be talking about cards that did not get reprinted. I'm going to pick one from each set, going back from the sets that I think are going to start gaining in value. I don't like to pick like Khans of Tarkir forward. I think that it's too early for those sets are going to continue to go down in value, just because they're still players still have tons of those cards and active traders is what I like to call them. People that haven't quite left the game and their cards get like put in storage or rot in closets. The people that are still in the game, Theros on, or actually Khans of Tarkir on, are going to have plenty of those cards as trade fodder, so you're not going to see those cards go up in value for another year or two. So I'm going to target from, I think, M13 on. I'm going to pick one from each set from M13 all the way up until Journey to Nyx. So anywho, let's just check a little bit of these cards. So the Commander comes with 4-color here. So 4-color, there's tons of different options that can go in 4-color decks. So that's why they were very greedy with the amount of picks that they picked up, just basically picking up a lot of staples here and there. Modern staples were not ignored either. Cards like the Scavenging Ooze was reprinted. But there's two different things with this Commander set. One is just the plain 4-color Commanders, and the second is the partner. So partner, you can partner up with another commander that has partner, and then you can use cards from the color identity of those partner. So there's only, I believe, okay, so the enemy color ones did get one of each, and the ally color, or two of them, and the allied color got one of the partner cards. So I think there's some cool interactions with some of these. This is my favorite partner right now, is the Kaidel and the Trasioas. As they work out very well together. Generating mana uses mana. So, I mean, there's some pretty cool little combos and interactions here. Not going to get too much talk too much about these commanders. We'll come back to them later on when I talk about my picks of the week. So first of all, again, a lot of these cards that are new, a lot of them are very popular, especially this group of Phyresis. You can steal basically a Lightning Greaves off your opponent or any other of the hexproof type cards as a way to get rid of a potential, like a very, very popular thing commanders to hook up their commander to a hexproof ability. And Grip is going to have that ability to take that off and then re-equip it to one of your creatures. So actually, you do attach the equipment to it. So you don't even need to do that. It will automatically unattach the creature that it's on and attach it to it. So it has a lot of value in those type of cards, these unique cards. And even the rarity in these type of things mean absolutely nothing. If they're only printed in one deck and as a one of, if it's considered an uncommon or a mythic, it's the same rarity. That's what I always kind of laugh at, the rarities they put for these particular cards in Commander, because if it's a one of in one set, might as well be a mythic. So, but onto the reprints, on the major reprints for this set. Like I said, there's Scavenging Ooze, there's Beast Within. For the modern staples, casual favorites like Waste Not. Burgeoning got another reprint. Even cards that I was investing in, like the Blind Obedience, got a reprint. Brutal Horde Chief, even a mythic out of a recent set. Chasm Skulker, Duretti, just full of just packed value. So, no Damnation again. Languish got another nudge over Damnation. But this seems to be like, look at the Storm pieces here. Reforge the Soul, Pass the Flames, and Waste Not. That's my Waste Not Storm deck, right? There are 3 specific pieces in that archetype. So crazy value in this set. So I'm not going to talk too much of it. I highly recommend you just come over here and scroll down and look at the type of cards that are being reprinted. Again, it's the $3 to $5 range. There's just tons of cards in, like the Swords to Plowshare type cards. They got to reprint. The Scavenging Oozes, the Beast Withins. So that's where most of the value is going to come in. I think there is actually very few cards over the $10 mark in this set, but just tons in the $3 to $5 cards and tons in even the $2 card mark, like the Boros Charm and the Bloodbraid Elf avenue. So Consuming Aberration, another great example. Corpse Jack Menace, all those are in the $2 range. Edric. So they went all out with the set. So without further ado, I'm just going to switch gears on the top. I guess this is going to be 10 cards, 1 from each set and 2 bonus cards that I think you should invest in. So let's just get started. As we go up to the top, there's a couple of commanders here at the top of the... oh, Jesus, I'm lagging horribly bad. I apologize. A couple of these commanders actually deal with lands. We know that the Meletis, the Tyro of Meletis, deals with lands. And there's a few other cards that want to ramp. And so whenever there's any sort of ramp strategies, my pick for M13 is a card that's been slowly creeping up on this. It used to be considered draft trash. In fact, it was very funny because I think I have a video clear back in the day for Rogue Deck Builder where I had an achievement of getting door to nothingness off in a draft deck. And it was because I picked up 2 Boundless Realms very late. They were basically forced to me because at one point they were they were worth nothing, and especially on MTGO they were worth nothing, and now they're up to almost $3.50 of the fair price trade brought by MTG price. Boundless Realm is going to go in any deck that likes to ramp. It's had some pressure from like Omnoth decks recently. I think that was the biggest spike because it just goes crazy with Omnoth. Any ramp is still a very popular strategy for green, and I think that this being missed in this commander set means it's going to be another year of very steady growth. We could see this go up from the $3.50 all the way up to the $5, $6 mark is where I think it's going to be at, because again, this is going to go into, especially 4-color decks want ways to fix, and even at 7, Boundless Realms is a way to fix your mana base, which it can only get basic lands though, so that's the one thing that it might not want to go in the 4-color decks. But I think that there's enough ramp type, even out of the blue-green, a lot of those were trying to ramp, and Boundless Realms is just a busted card in Commander when you have time to actually cast a card like this. So for M13, I think that's the obvious choice. There wasn't a lot of the other cards that I would pick in M13 are getting reprints, and therefore I think this is your best option for the M13 target. On to the Return to Ravnica. Return to Ravnica is an obvious choice because this card always goes up whenever more Commander cards out, and it did not get printed. There was a new one, kind of the fixed Cyclonic Rift as well as Devastating Tides was printed in the Commander 2016, but Cyclonic Rift did not get one this time, so it's 2 years now that we don't have a Cyclonic Rift. Or was this last year? I can't remember if that's the symbol. So it says Commander, 2014, yeah. So it was 2014 and Return to Ravnica, yep. So now it's missed for the past 2 years. It was an absolute powerhouse in last year's Commander, especially the blue-red deck. Every deck wanted those, and that's where you saw a bit of the price spike. Cyclonic Rift has seen a little bit of modern play, and the U-White control decks have started to put in like a one of Cyclonic Rift just because it does answer everything, and you're going to get to the 7 mana in the control list by the time that you want like Elspeth really to be going crazy, or even a way to protect. It's just a great spell early. You can bounce back a permanent, but in Commander, this is one of the most busted things possible. I've called for the banning of Cyclonic Rift. It's definitely on my chopping block. If I were to ban a card, it's definitely my top 10, probably top 5 of cards that I think needs to go out of Commander. But until it's banned, if it's not going to get banned, I think Cyclonic Rift is one of those cards that is going to go into almost every deck. Blue-green again, and this one has that sort of ramps type style, especially one of the blue-green commanders is all about ramping. Cyclonic Rift is the perfect card to both protect and ramp into and just swing in. There's so many ways. I hardly ever see a Cyclonic Rift cast in Commander where it doesn't either so lopsidedly affect the player that casts it, or just flat out wins the game. On to the Gate Crash pick. The Gate Crash pick is Illusionist Bracers. This one's sitting at $2.27, which has also had a nice steady growth over the past few years, especially over the past year. It's had this nice growth. It says whenever an ability of an equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, you copy it. There were a ton of these commanders that have activated abilities, like the Brea. I guess you do have to sacrifice 2 artifacts, but it still does copy. I don't think you have to. Yeah, it does copy the ability. There was the Tracios that also had an activated ability of Scry Draw. I guess there's a lot of triggered abilities here, but there was a lot of activated abilities throughout the Commander 2016 on many of the creatures, and I think that even though most of the flat out commanders here don't have activated abilities, Illusionist Bracers is just going to be a card you want to pick up for the Commander. You saw that it did almost double in the past year, and I think it's going to continue that trend as it is just one of the most popular cards in Commander. On to my card from Dragon's Maze. This was a hard pick because Dragon's Maze continues to be very awful. I am going to pick Varls. Varls the Scar Striped. I think that this card might actually see some going up. I know it was in the intro packs to the set. And it was also the pre-release. If you got the pre-release pack, Varls was also in that. So there's just a huge quantity of Varls out there. But again, Varls has Scavenge. Each creature in your graveyard has Scavenge. And there was a lot of cards, like the Proliferate Commander, dealt with at least +1/+1 counters. But then both of these, the Rayhan, Last of the Abzan, also works with +1/+1 counters. So I think that's enough. I think there was also double counters down here too. I think there was some sort of counter theme, like the Hardened Scales type theme in these Commander 2016. So I think that out of Dragon's Maze, Varls is the one that looks the greatest. I think the couple other Dragon's Maze were actually reprinted in the Commander 2016. So of course they wouldn't be the picks. Varls is the most likely out of that crappy set to actually go up. And at 60 cents, I think that it might actually push through the dollar mark finally. I've liked Varls for a long time. It's almost modern playable. It is fun in Commander. It's a fun Commander itself. Like, I've built an Varls Infect deck as you just scavenge everything onto an Infect creature and you can one-shot people. It's also good with there's a ton of other Commanders in the past that have used +1/+1 counters, especially in Golgari. It's a very, very popular strategy to go into +1/+1 counters. So again, I think this is a smart pickup if you're actually going to look into a card that's going to be just jammed into a bunch of just Golgari decks. in the future. On it to my M14 pick, and I think this is probably the best pickup out of all of the cards, which is Stronic Resonator. I mentioned activated abilities. Well, now it's all about triggered abilities. There's so many triggered abilities in the Commander 2016. So many of them. We have a triggered ability on let's see, this just gains Cascade, so that's not a triggered ability. Whenever creature control deals combat damage to player, deals that much damage to the chosen player, that is a triggered ability. Yes, on Saskia, I believe that the triggered ability is controlled. It doesn't give a creature that ability, right? So I think that Stronic Resonator just makes this go crazy because it's Saskia that is or Saskia, which is triggering the ability, and then the Stronic Resonator will copy that. So let's just read the Resonator really quickly. It says, copy target to triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets. Yeah, you can copy any target ability. So I guess that's not it's not like Illusionist Bracers and we'll copy a trigger for each one of them. But it still works off of the Undying or Unyielding, Saskia the Unyielding. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Each player may put a land. That's a triggered ability. Stronic Resonator can copy that. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. There you go. There's another triggered ability. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, choose an artifact. Triggered ability. Whenever you cast your first spell, triggered ability. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, triggered ability. You get the idea. There's a ton of triggered abilities. Stronic Resonator is going to be just jammed in each one of these because on especially a few of these, like the return to artifact, that's pretty busted. Or whenever you cast your first spell, each turn it deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to an opponent at random. That's not the greatest thing to do with Stronic Resonator. Whenever you deal combat damage, that's perfect with the Bloodsower. That's a perfect interaction with the Stronic Resonator. On to Theros. I think Theros, since we're into 4-color decks, it's all about fixing. And Sylvan Carey seems like the best pickup. It's starting to recover a little bit. It was a standard powerhouse. People like it in Commander because it does have hexproof, and it is a 0/3 defender. But mainly it's just a ramp type ability that has hexproof. It's hard for your opponents to kill, and it helps you fix your 4-color decks very well. I like these type of cards in like Animar. I have a Sylvan Carey. Just any 3-color deck. It's if you're running green, you're probably going to put in like Birds of Paradise and Sylvan Carey in the deck, as that's one of the most frustrating things in Commanders when you just can't cast your spells. So Sylvan Carey, I think at $2 is a bargain and is going to go up indefinitely because of the 4-colored Commanders, 4 of them having green in them. So there's 4 decks right off the bat where they want a Sylvan Carey. On to the Born of the Gods, I think Kiora gets the most interesting because it works especially with one commander in particular, which wants to put the Proliferate commander that wants to put out Planeswalker type cards. There is also the blue-green is the color combination I'm most impressed with. And there's a lot of these type Kiora. I think Kiora wants to go in most of these decks because they end up being kind of these control routes or ramp aspect, and Kiora does both of those. And again, if you can proliferate and get Kiora up to 5, then you get an emblem, you get a 9/9 creature at the end of each one of your end steps. With the proliferate, that's not hard to do. With a way to double counters on a particular permanent, that's not hard to do either. So Kiora, I think, is going to go back up. I think you can get it from the other set for $2, the non-Journey or non-Born of the Gods, as it was in that dual deck. And Kiora, I think it's about time that these type of dual decks start to recover. We've seen Elspeth already start to recover out of the Elspeth versus Kiora because it has started to see a little bit more of modern play and has a lot of casual appeal. I think Kiora has been a very popular commander card or popular casual card, and you're gonna start to see this one recover in its value as well. So I think Kiora is a good one to target and a good one to pick up. Now on to the good stuff, and my 2 picks are going to actually be very similar to the card that I'm going to pick from Journey to Nyx, which has been recovering slightly from its bottom, which is Mana Confluence. Mana Confluence is going to be jammed in every one of these 4-color decks because it's just the best way to fix. You need 4 colors. It's very awkward in Commander. You got Command Tower. You got a few other cards that are just givens. off of that. But Mana Confluence is going to be in every one of them because it just fixes, and the life is kind of pointless in Commander. Paying 1 life is nothing in a 40 life total. So I think that targeting Mana Confluence is the smartest target from Journey to Nyx. It's going to start to recover. It's seen play in a few, every now and again you'll see it in a modern deck. I think I've seen Mana Confluences before in decks. I don't think that Ad Nauseam likes it because you just rather take the damage from Phyrexian Unlife, because I don't think you can't pay a life you don't have. So that's correct. But I think that your life total is irrelevant when you're going off, and so Mana Confluences have seen play in four color decks in Modern. But specifically, since we're talking about Commander, I think it's just a duh to pick up this card and the next 2 cards that are very, very similar. The City of Brass, which also deals a damage to you, but who cares in a 40 life total environment. You can activate this so many times before it's going to be a threat, or you can stop activating it, and it's going to help fix it. So City of Brass and Mana Confluence, and the last one out, Conspiracy, which is the Reflecting Pool. Reflecting Pool has been going pretty crazy over the past year. It's up to $7.58 for the fair price, and I think that it's going to continue to go up in value with these 4-colored Commander decks. So I think that gives a little bit of insight. I know a lot of people have been talking about the value of the Commander 2016s, but not really about investing in ones that missed. I think that's your best. Same thing when Modern Masters 3 comes out. You want to typically look at the cards that have the most synergy with the cards that are getting reprinted, like what decks missed getting a reprint and a card did get a reprint out of the set, which means that the price will go down on those cards, which means the price of the cards that didn't get a reprint will have to go up. There actually is, for a different, maybe next week we can look at some of the modern type cards that got a reprint in this, like the Master of Ethereum is I think there's quite a few affinity pieces, there are a few, more than one. I'll have to re-look at the Commander 2016 to see if more than just like Master of Ethereum got reprinted. But inevitably, when like a $7 card or an $8 card gets reprinted, it brings up the price of the cards that go in that deck just because it's more accessible. When a person doesn't, like, when they pick up, inevitably what happens is they pick up a card like, oh, what can I do with the Master of Ethereum? Well, I'm 2/3 the way there. Or 1/3 the way there for Affinity. I just need to pick up 2 more, and then picked up like some S Champions, and then some. And Affinity has some Mox Opals and things like that are incredibly expensive, so that's not the greatest example talking about Affinity. But sometimes you see these type of cards that get a reprint, and it's a huge piece of that archetype, and then people just like, oh, I have this, I'll just start picking up the rest of the pieces. So that's just some food for thought. I think that, once again, recapping the mana, the best things to invest in are just ones that can go in all of the decks, and that's why cards like the Illusionist Bracer, Stronic Resonator, Mana Confluence, City of Brass, and Reflecting Pool I think are great pickups. And then you have to look at synergistic. Kiora I think goes well with the Peripherate. Varos goes well with the +1/+1 counters. Cyclonic Rift and Boundless Realms are just popular Commander cards. I might have missed a few. I think that there definitely was a few cards like Grave Betrayal that had like +1/+1 counters that look kind of interesting, but I don't know if they're just gonna be slapped into any old Commander deck you usually tend to look for upgrades for Commander decks when they are printed, but this one is just a crapshoot, and I think that's one of the reasons why they just printed a bunch of different value cards, because we don't even know what direction people are going to go with these Commanders. They're very customizable, and especially if you use like the partner cards, people can go in any different route. So there's just not a lot of obvious upgrades to decks, but I think Cyclonic Rift is a perfect one for anything that runs blue. And I thought about some other cards like Training Grounds. Training Grounds seems pretty good. Activated abilities are reduced. There seem to be enough cards in the Commander that these decks do want Training Grounds. And in the comment section below, let me think of or if you have any ideas or recommendations of cards to pick up if you're more of an avid Commander player than I am. I haven't played Commander for quite a while, so I'm kind of out of the loop with cards that are kind of staples in the Commander sets. But I have played enough of it to know, at least from my experience of from Return to Ravnica on, what cards I've seen a lot of play in Commander. So I hope you enjoyed this Market Monday, and happy speculating. Hope that this was helpful. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.